All right, so here we are on day 5 of NovNov Novel November, working through some technical projects in DigitalOcean, and we're finally getting to SSH key authentication. I've mentioned it a few times, and I figured since I don't have a droplet right now to poke at, let's make a new one, and let's secure that root login with an SSH key. So our first step is you cannot use SSH keys if you don't have keys to use. So in terminal, you're going to want to be in your user's home directory. So I'm in Windows, so I'm using PowerShell. And we're going to use the command SSH -keygen space -t space ed2 5519. I always forget the format. Uh, Hyphen big C or capital C, and then an email address. For easy key management, I would use the one that you are going to, or that you're already using in DigitalOcean. For this one, I'm just going to use my CyberGoblin email. And this is going to ask us a couple of questions as we go through. First up, it is going to say enter the file in which to save the key. I'm just going to hit enter on that one. I already have one, so I'm going to overwrite it with a yes. Passphrase, go ahead and give it a secure password. This is what is needed to access that key. Hey, there's some random art and my key fingerprint. Don't worry, this isn't going to live for long, so maybe I can trust you guys. Now if I do ls space dot ssh, it will show me the contents of my .ssh directory. And in here you can see that as of 2:19 p.m. I have an ID ed25519 and an ID ed25519.pub. This is your public key. This is the one that you will put on DigitalOcean or into your droplet to authenticate with SSH. This is your private key that should never be shared. Only you can know your private key because that's what lets you authenticate to the public key. It's good old asymmetric encryption. Let's take a look at that, excuse me, public key with notepad space dot ssh / and then the name of that key. We just went with a pretty default name in this case, so gotta type that in. That'll open up a notepad, probably on my other screen. Yep, there it is. And this is going to be what we need to paste into DigitalOcean in a second. Right, so I'm going to copy this to my clipboard, minimize, minimize, and go into DigitalOcean. So from here, I'm just in my NovNov. I want to use the navigation bar on the left-hand side to go down to Settings. Inside of Settings, we are going to go to Security Settings. And then right here is our first SSH keys. So I can add an SSH key, paste the contents of my public key, and then give it a key name. So I'm going to call this NovNov5. If I add that in, I now have a public SSH key stored in DigitalOcean. From here, I can just go right up to create and say droplet. And we're just going to build a new droplet from here. Whatever data center you want to use is good. This one is going to be CentOS so that I can run a couple of commands later. Keep it with basic, keep it with regular. Don't cost yourself a lot of money. As you guys can see in the top right, we're only up to an estimated cost of 39 cents in my usage. And you'll see that now that I have a key, it is going to auto default to SSH key, and my only key will be selected. You could also add a new key through here as you're going, but I don't like doing that. So now we're up to NovNov2. We're going to call this NovNov for a tag, SSH key for a tag, and I'll throw demo in there as well. And then last but not least, make sure your project goes correct. I have a couple in here, so I'm going to change this back to NovNov and create that droplet after reviewing. So I'm building mine in Amsterdam, CentOS as the operating system, basic shared CPU, regular CPU options with disk type SSD, $4 a month, SSH key using that NovNov key 1 that we created, host name of NovNov5, and in the project of NovNov. Go ahead and create that droplet. I'm gonna bring my terminal back up because as you guys remember, we gotta ping it. If you can't ping, you can't do any of the cooler things. So let's see if it'll give us an IP address and if we can talk to it. All right. So it's always worth being patient because right when it gives you the IP, it's probably not gonna work, right? We have to have time to get there for it to be running. Just because it shows an IP right here doesn't mean that we are going to be live. A common action that I like to do is refresh my DigitalOcean dashboard, wait for it to appear, then bring up my terminal and try that ping again. And that last one finally on the fourth of four pings was able to talk, but I'm just going to do another double check to get four successful. So we can ping, which means we should be able to SSH now. Root at my IP address. And this is going to be different than previous because now it's going to supply the key, so we're not going to need a password. So SSH space root at the IP address, enter. We don't know this, it's a brand new VM, so we got to say yes to are you sure we want to connect? And then it's asking for our passphrase key because it's trying to use that passphrase locally to make sure we can open that key. And hey, now we are in root at NovNov5. The reason why that works is locally on your computer, you have the private key, and you use that private key to authenticate to the system because it has a copy of your public key stored in the authorized keys. This is that thing that I had pasted into DigitalOcean. We can also do it directly to uh, a user in the VM if we go through that way. To do that, you have to have a user. So I'm going to go ahead and do user add. And this time I'm just going to do S Smith for good old Steve Smith. Create his home directory. Oh, lowercase c, not capital C. Create his home directory in there. I'll set Steve Smith's password to a secure password. And now we can see that I have, if I at, we'll do tail, last line of the etc passwd file that everyone likes to talk about when you're hacking. We have that Steve Smith that is a legitimate user. So now if I cd into the home of S Smith, ls here, I don't have anything, but I can mkdir .ssh. That will give me this .ssh directory that I can cd into. Nothing in here, right? Brand new directory. That file called authorized keys is what we're going to call back to. So now I can go ahead and touch authorized underscore keys. Got that, but I don't have any keys in it, right? So I have to make a new key if I want Steve Smith to have a key. So let's go ahead and use a very similar command to what we did earlier. I always forget where I did things. So I'm gonna do SSH keygen -t ed25519 big C, and this time I'm going to put different. I'm just going to do info@cybergoblin so that I have an email on there. Helps if you do the right command because it's SSH key gen, not SSH key. I'm going to call this S Smith. Got to use password still. Never want to leave your keys just open. So now if I sorry, I'm in Windows. Now if I ls the .ssh, still got some keys in there. What if I cat that .ssh/ID ed25519 That's my Jeff K at CyberGoblin. So let's go ahead and find that Steve Smith, right? Because we used it, we made it a little bit different though, right? So what if I do ls? Is it here? There we are. I didn't specify where to put it, so it just put it into my current directory instead of the .ssh directory. OneDrive is my biggest nightmare. So with that being said, right, we've got SSH keys inside of here, so I can just do smith.pub. Remember to do the pub key, not the private key. This time I can just copy it, go back over to my terminal, and I can echo that into authorized keys. So now if I cat my authorized keys, we have that stored in here. So hypothetically, what that means is that I could authenticate to this with Steve Smith's key, unless I did something wrong. So let's check it. I'm gonna exit out and then SSH as Steve Smith. So I'm gonna change root to S Smith. Permission denied. So I did not set something up correctly, but that's okay. I will leave that as a mystery for you guys to figure out. That is the process you could go through, and I got you 85% of the way there. Now that last 15% for y'all is to troubleshoot why this message. Feel free to yell at me or comment if you have more thoughts and feelings than that, but SSH key authentication is something you'll want to get familiar with if you like using remote resources and you want to access them securely. I know it's a bit short for today, but that is all I've got for you guys for today's NovNov, and we will be back tomorrow with potentially some more troubleshooting.